Dear all, a very warm welcome to the Havells Insignia Presents edX, a series by Realty Plus Masterclass. Friends, edX Talk is a unique initiative dedicated to facilitate the development of an ecosystem for world-class designers in India. This one-of-a-kind architecture and design talk show aims to enable the process of collaboration with the best in the industry the world has to offer, so as to position architects, designers, and manufacturers as partners offering complete solutions. I'm Sapna Srivastava, editor Realty Plus magazine, and let's begin with a brief introduction of Realty Plus before we introduce our speaker of the day today. So here we have a little introduction that I would like to share with you all about Realty Plus. Friends, Realty Plus is part of Exchange for Media and BW Business World Group, and the monthly publication is the real estate vertical of the group that caters to the needs of the real estate business. For past 16 years, it has been at the forefront of news and stories influencing the world of real estate. It was also recognized as the best real estate magazine by Narredco. Realty Plus is now available in both print and digital edition. Apart from our monthly magazine, we also have a series collector edition of coffee table books, which are premium editions launched once in a year, spotlighting prominent personalities, products, and brands of the real estate. A recent one is the Super CXOs, India's top 100 realty influencers coffee table book, which features Indian realty's dynamic Super CXOs who are transforming the sector through their leadership and vision. In addition, Realty Plus Conclave and Excellence Awards virtual series features eminent speakers, engaging discussions, and lively virtual awards ceremonies felicitating the top performers in Indian real estate, PropTech, co-working, and building product segments. Realty Plus also produces various online products and events under its Realty Plus Digital Connect initiative. Under the umbrella of Realty Plus Digital Connect, we have a Realty Plus Masterclass webinar, such as the one today, featuring subject matter experts and industry leaders in an insightful and informative conversation on current and relevant topics. Likewise, the Realty Plus Real Talk features video interviews with influential leaders from varied segments of real estate who share the honest views and opinions and real facts and figures. Not to be missed, friends, every morning is the Realty Plus e-newsletter that goes out with latest news, views, and opinions from across real estate sector of India and the world. We are also very strong on the social media platform, and that is how we stay connected with our readers, peers, and partners and promote our products. So this was a brief snippet of what Realty Plus does and what our products are. In case you would like to know more about us, do get in touch with Ms. Tripti Kedia, publisher and business head. So while this was our small introduction, let's get back to our event of the today, and let me bring Mr. Vivek Yadav, who is the Senior Vice President, Havells India Limited, to please share his views and also talk about edX, the series presented by Havells Insignia. But before that, let me give a brief introduction of Mr. Vivek Yadav. Vivek is an industry expert with 31 years of experience in electrical and automation. He is currently heading Havells' domestic circuit protection, electric wiring accessories, and home automation business, along with projects and enterprise business, which cut across all business verticals in Havells. He has worked in all domains from residential and commercial building to industries and infrastructure, and he has extensive experience in products and solutions from circuit protections, automation in industries and homes. Mr. Yadav, over to you now.
Right. Thank you, Sapna, for those words and the introduction. At the outset, let me welcome all our esteemed viewers who've spared their busy time and are with us today. And also a very warm welcome to our guest speaker for the day, architect Vicky Chan. So before I give you a little bit of detail on our edX program, and our larger program of the specifier engagement, which we call as Havells Insignia. Let's look at a small short AV, which has been specially curated for this program. So can we have the AV, please?
For more than 6 decades, Havells India Limited has been focusing on building a better future. A future where technology is used to drive progress, improve business outcomes, and create a better quality of life. Today, Havells stands tall in the FMEG sector as a major power distribution equipment manufacturer with a strong global footprint, owing to its innovative future-ready products for a wide spectrum of applications. With the acquisition of Lloyd in 2017, Havells has made a foray into high-potential consumer durable segment with offerings of air conditioners, LED televisions, washing machines, refrigerators and dishwashers. The new synergy further complements the brand's deeper into homes vision. Havells owns some of the most prestigious global brands like Tripti, Lloyd, Standard and Rio. Its global network constitutes over 5,000 professionals across its offices. As part of its Make in India philosophy, Havells is manufacturing 97% of its products in-house. With 14 state-of-the-art, fully automated manufacturing plants located across India, Havells offers superior quality and globally benchmarked products to its customers. Havells has set up a large distribution network to set new benchmarks in prompt delivery and service to customers. Over 11,000 dealers, 150,000 retailers and 700 plus Havells Galaxy exclusive brand showrooms across the country are helping customers to choose from its wide range of products. Havells has a robust supply chain management system with 31 warehouses located pan-India. The meticulous forecasting and demand planning delivers seamless tracking system. Havells is the first FMEG company to offer doorstep service, offering a seamless post-purchase experience. It has the largest service network with 800 plus service points covering 441 towns, 24/7 across India. Havells Center for Research and Innovation, CRI, at Noida, with a team of highly qualified engineers and designers, continuously work towards creating differentiated and innovative products while adhering to stringent quality norms at par with international standards. Havells products are certified by nationally accredited laboratories such as CPRI and ERDA. Havells has a strong in-house IT vertical which develops innovative technology platforms to support its robust service and supply chain management system. Growing together is ingrained in the ethos of Havells and has resulted in it launching many innovative and profitable schemes for its dealer community. Havells has strong credentials in B2B and large government projects as well, such as lighting up Kolkata railway station and partnering with NBCC India Limited to beautify and transform the night view of India's heritage monuments like Humayun's tomb, as it believes in the philosophy of spearheading the progress of the nation without ignoring the past. Havells has taken giant strides to create an innovative world full of possibilities, not only for itself, but also for all its channel partners and customers, with a commitment to improve people's lives and help create a better global society. Havells is inspiring the world and making a difference.
You're on mute, Vivek.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Let me talk about a little bit more about the Havells Insignia program, and edX is part of that program. So edX, as you see, while Sapna gave the introduction, it's a platform where we are getting the best designers, the best in the industry, to talk to our community of specifiers to share and learn from the best in the industry. on various topics that we bring to you on this platform. So Havells actually is Havells Insignia actually is a unique framework of we call it 4I, which is incubate, innovate, interact, and influence. And under these, we are going to curate similar platforms like edX on different topics. So the next could be a white paper which could be on issues, trends, policies, and causes. Another could be a yearbook on forcible trends, which could also be a reference guide for budding designers, setting the agenda for the year. Maybe globally benchmarked projects to showcase in that yearbook. Okay, so a yearbook which will be a sought after book for the designer fraternity. We will also introduce a contest here, which could be on redesigning the existing icons, old monuments, cities, and reuse the ruins. Okay. Also, there would be awards for recognizing the best among the equals. So these would be some of the platforms that we'll bring about, like here in edX, Reality Plus is helping us curate this program and bring to our esteemed specifier community. We'll be using similar partners for each of the elements that I talked about. And of course, as I said, the objective of Havells Insignia program would be to collaborate with the best, and engage with the best in the industry, and take the the profession of designing forward and collaborate with them as an industry partner. So this is what the introduction of Havells Insignia program is. And to take the today's program forward, I'll hand it over back to Sapna for taking the the edX program forward today.
Thanks, Vivek. Rightly mentioned, we need such kind of knowledge sharing platforms where we can bring together industry experts, to share their knowledge with us, to share the knowledge with all the stakeholders of the industry, and what best way to do it through edX series. So now let us bring on the stage the star of the day. We have with us from Hong Kong, the young and dynamic architect, Vicky Chan, founder, Avoid Obvious Architects. Let me give a brief introduction of our eminent speaker of the day. Vicky Chan founded Avoid Obvious Architects in 2012, and his office, his firm has offices in New York and Hong Kong. The firm has been pushing sustainable buildings and cities with focus on combining art with green technology. His projects, in fact, have been exhibited in 37 cities across the country, across the world. Vicky Chan has also founded a volunteering organization to teach architecture to students, and he has done that for almost 3,000 children today, talking to them about sustainable design and architecture. He believes our future will be brighter if children are more equipped with creative and sustainable thinking. So what a great idea. And on that positive note, I welcome our eminent speaker of the day, architect Vicky Chan. I hand it over to you, Vicky.
Oh, thank you, Samna, for the very, very nice opening speech. So without further ado, I'm going to actually break down today's topic into 3 different sections. I'm going to talk about how we actually started our firm and what we do. And then we'll go into some of the more interior scale, landscape scale in terms of like what we do with like smart farming. We use like farming as a way to actually make the city more sustainable, and people's lives has been improved over some of the projects that we built using farming as a way to activate their life. And then we'll talk about smart building as a much larger scale of how the building could work with some of the latest technology. And we will end some of the topic we have today with a really, really big scale project with a smart city. And our team is a relatively small, young team. We are made up of like older senior architects and some of the younger designers among us. Many of us are actually trained either in Hong Kong, or I was me and Ken were actually trained in the US. So we combine like multiple countries' expertise into our team. And we also teach, we do a lot of volunteering work. The organization that we founded is called Architecture for Children. So we started it in New York. We wanted to spread all the idea we had globally, not just like in Asia, but also in America and also some other country. Very luckily, about 2 years ago, we actually were invited to speak in India, and we were able to do a small classes also with some of the kids we have in India. So this was actually really fun. They were turning their last name into like a city planning project. So that works out really, really well. We have been in business since 2012, and since then we actually won quite a bit of an award. So we have been quite lucky to be able to be awarded for some of the work that we have done. The first topic today we wanted to bring your attention to is actually about farming. Farming has been around for a really long time. We wanted to use technology as a way to bring farming to be more smart. We wanted to use it as a way to connect people, city and nature. So we're going to begin with a really small project. This is a farm-to-table restaurant that we designed 4 years ago now. So in this restaurant, they simply said that what if we were able to grow all the ingredients that we consume on site just locally within the restaurant. One of the constraints that they had with that, like there's no sunlight in this restaurant. Basically, it's just a giant like a shopping mall, and in the middle of the mall, there was no windows and no way to access sunlight. So we had to like use some of the latest technology that many of you actually have seen by now. It's just a hydroponic. We use hydroponic as a interior lighting with a very controlled climate, with a very controlled lighting system, and we were able to grow all the ingredients that they needed within the restaurant. So it works out really well. We won a lot of like award for it, but most importantly, we did a really interesting calculation. We understand that there are ways for us to actually turn farmings in the middle of the cities, right? In this case, it was like middle of a shopping mall. It was also in a downtown area in Hong Kong. So it was actually very, very crowded with a lot of people around it. But what we were able to achieve is that using technology, we were still able to like consume less water compared to traditional farming. We were able to use like a lot less like fertilizer, and the whole process is very transparent. You're able to see the whole species that we grow, and then you're able to go into the farm, grab the species, and then directly put it onto your meal. So that farm to table idea works out really, really well from just using some like technological devices. So just to actually give you a really quick update of what the farm looks like at the beginning, right? So at the beginning, we didn't know too much about some of the idea behind, right? So how do we control the temperature? How do we control the light? In this case, you see the blue light, right? Sometimes they're blue, sometimes they're purple. Using different light control, we were able to stress the flower to bloom at a very specific time. And then we kind of like finally like figured out everything so that they really could be controlled in a really nice way, so that even without sunlight, without the natural environment, we were able to control both the humidity, water content, and also the lighting within the system. So after that, we were approached by the Hong Kong government. They liked what we did with the technology, and then they told us that, hey, what if you actually bring this idea into a much bigger project? So we were given a pretty big like waterfront site to actually turn it into a giant urban farm. At the very beginning, it came with a lot of challenges, right? Before I go into the technology, there are some difficult challenge in terms of how we grow next to the ocean, right? As you can imagine, when you're next to the ocean, you get a lot of like rain, wind, a lot of like air will be very exotic because it's next to the ocean. So it was kind of interesting as a site that we received. Right? We didn't pick the site, right? It was given to us as a site to actually tackle this farming. So what we do is like we go into the site and try to really understand what can we do with it in terms of like the content. And then we come up with this idea of like using different circle as a way to bring people together from an architectural point of view. And then analyze like how actually people will be using the farm. We wanted to promise the community, and we have promised the community that 90% of this farm will be open and free of charge to everyone coming to the site. So only like a few, 10% of it will be like closed at night, but most of it will be just open to the community. And then using like hydroponic as a way to do farming. We'll actually create a pretty interesting light show along the waterfront. So, you know, because of the light that you have seen earlier, some of them could be blue, white, and purple, depending on time of the day. That could become a very scientific light show that can actually animate the whole waterfront. So the whole site was actually quite large and very open. So we were able to adapt like more than one type of like farming technology. The hydroponic that you have seen earlier with the indoor like greenhouse, and then we have like the traditional organic, but we make the organic kind of special by actually making it very inclusive. I'm going to talk about it next, how we actually make it up. But we also have a last farming technology called aquaponic, which is actually the technology that you put the fish as part of the feeding cycle for the plant. So all the buildings that we had on site were actually not just a regular building. They were actually part of the farming system. All the pavilion that you see are actually collecting rainwater for the organic farm. Or the office building on top, now we have solar panel to actually pump the electricity back into the greenhouse and the offices to be used for different farming purposes. And like I said, the challenges that we had, it was actually, we were very close to the ocean. So we had to look at all kinds of species to really understand what kind of species and plant actually survive in this exotic and windy condition. And then we come up with a list of items that actually would do well in the wind. And one of them could be quite surprising is that grapes, you know, the regular grapes that we grow, they actually really like strong wind. So we will be growing some of the grapes here on site. And talking about like inclusive like farming, right? This farm is a public farm that people could go to. So we will be actually using a lot of like variation in height in order to let people who are on a wheelchair or who are elderly or who are like children to be able to enjoy farming in a very different experience. So some of them will be like stand up and they can still farm. Not the very traditional way that you have seen farming. And this is the light show that I've mentioned earlier. We, depending on the time of the day, the plant will be exposed to different sunlight, and that creates quite an interesting light show that will be animating the whole waterfront during the evening time. Our building is actually for the greenhouse is a really nice like a glass structure that you will actually see a lot of plant inside. In some way, that structure right now has actually become the lung of the city, right? Because you can imagine there's so much oxygen being generated inside the building. In some way, when you go in, it's almost kind of like very refreshing. Actually, even a lot more refreshing than some of the cities in Hong Kong. So it becomes like a really, well, it would be a very nice experience for people to go in. And then the aquaponic pool with the ocean view, the reflection from the ocean, and then all the fishes that you see from the aquaponic pond. Everything we actually makes a lot of sense when they're combined with the waterfront activity together. And obviously, the community will be very welcome to join different farming classes, you know, throughout the year. And you know, just you know, go through some of the images on the inside. So this is a type of like industrial hydroponic farm that we will have inside the greenhouse. And you can kind of see that sometimes they have the blue light, sometimes they have the purple light. So that makes like the whole photographing quite interesting when you're actually inside. So the building is still under construction. This is as of the site condition last week. So we visited the site. Most of the building has been built already. We are waiting for to put in all the like planting rack for the plan to be implemented. But you can already see that like some of the waterfront view is very connecting to the building. And then with different like shading devices and air conditioner that we will use, we'll just get the temperature at the right degree for this area. But the most importantly, like this building is actually quite interesting. You can kind of see like where my cursor is. This is quite I would say a very high-end building. We were actually pretty worried at one point that if we weren't allowed to operate within this waterfront anymore, we were asked to actually make the building movable. So you can actually see all the structure we put in here are actually all joined together by nut and bolt. So in the future, when we were asked to relocate to a different area, we could. So this is some of the kind of like more structural element that we put into this farm to make it like more interesting and smart. And growing along the ocean will be challenging, and it should be quite interesting. Many people have told us that we can't do it. We won't be able to do it. It will be impossible to do it, to do farming next to the ocean, right? But regardless, we went ahead to build all this like structure, right? Including all the rain water collection that I told you, sun water, solar panel that I've told you earlier. And then, so we opened phase 1 about a month ago. And then it was so surprising, like along the waterfront, there was so much like people coming to visit our farm. And then the most surprising factor, like I said at the beginning, was because we picked a very interesting species that work well under the wind, so that like even next to the ocean, we got like really blooming area like along the farm. We also were growing like strawberries just like as of last week as well. So it works out really well. And then one of the inclusive idea that we have mentioned earlier were exactly what I show in these images. We try not to just like we wanted to include like elderly or people on wheelchair like within part of this team. So we were actually elevating all this farming into a rack so that they could still stand up or they could sit down as they do farming. It's no longer the traditional way that you have to dig down and dive into the organic farm. So all in all, like all this idea will eventually benefit about like 360,000 people like along the waterfront. So it works out really great as a government project, and then we are very proud of it. And then the same idea continued to grow for our team in terms of how we actually use farming to influence like sustainable buildings and cities. In this specific case, like some other restaurant has wanted to expand the farming to table idea with us, and then we are actually designing this devices. We have to design this cases for them to make it like kind of interesting, but at the same time it become like a really fun devices for people to really enjoy farming. And again, some of the species that they grow will be a very exotic species. And so it will work out. I think it will work out really well. Another example, we wanted to bring farming not just like to the traditional part, right? But we wanted to bring farming like all the way to the street as well. We are like working with a downtown organization, which I'm also the chairman of. It's called Walk DVLC. So Walk DVLC is advocating to actually turn some of the downtown area into a park. So we just like kind of pedestrianize the whole like downtown area. So our idea is to put a lot of local species, a lot of local plant to actually make the area into a very interesting farm. So the combination between downtown and farming was very attractive to a lot of people. And then we built a prototype to actually prove how it works. This is how some of the prototype actually looks like. It looks like, again, we like circle as a geometry. So all the circle actually kind of combine together to form a really nice like contrast of geometry, sitting area, shading area, a water area, and all that. And then I'm going to show you a really quick video. So in this video, we actually kind of demonstrate how the pedestrianization could actually work with our idea of like farming. Basically, we again, it's a smart farm, so we don't want it to actually make the farm kind of like static and stable, right? So it has to still work with like the local people and the local car. So the car and all the trams and everything and the fire truck will still be able to work in here, right? So everything, all these like little pieces that you saw with all the farm, they are actually just on wheels, right? So basically everything is actually on wheels. When we actually wanted to let the fire trucks go through the side, we could actually move everything aside. And then, but if not, this could become a really quick and easy way for us to actually pedestrianize the downtown area in Hong Kong. So that was actually my first topic on smart farming. I'm going to now move on to talk about like some of the idea we have like for smart buildings. Smart buildings for us is sometimes it's about the technology, sometimes it's about the design, sometimes it's also about combining the both, like both the design and the technology in order to make some great architecture. I'm going to go through one of the first projects in China that we have. This project is quite interesting. It's a historical building. The the site or the building that you saw, there used to be just like different type of like factory on site, different type of dormitory for the factory workers. So the owner for the site actually inherited the site and then wanted to turn it into a public park. So rather than just like doing a very traditional public park, we wanted to influence a different sustainable technology in here so that they could, on one hand, keep all the existing building and we use them in a different way as a museum. But at the same time, all the landscape, all the sustainable idea will make the old building into a more future-proof like format so that they don't have to worry about it being like not energy efficient. So within the, from a very master scale point of view, what we had at the very beginning were that we rely on some of the passive technology first, right? So this is one of the buildings that they had. Well, some of it is still under construction, but because it's an existing building. But the landscape to begin with, like we had a really like a giant, almost like a giant pond in the middle of the site in order to microclimate all this building and factory around it. So with the pond on site, actually in some way it was quite amazing without even doing much about it. All the local temperature, like around the building, the immediate local temperature immediately drop, and then it just helped to cool down the site in such a simple, low energy way. And after that, like all the local species and frog, butterfly, actually they all kind of like come into our site because I guess basically there's no other park like around us. Everywhere is a factory, right? So this is the old factory that we have actually the old dormitory for the factory that we have preserved, and then the rest of the site was actually turned into like a park around it. And then like the what we call the microclimate actually works out really well in order to contrast the both in terms of energy input and output. And among the site, there's a lot of other like features that we get to reuse. This was an existing like archway into the site, and then we turn it into like a kind of like a hidden door with a lot of plants around it. And then the existing building will also like kind of implemented with museum quality. Some of the overhanging structure help to cool down the building a bit. And then and we're using some of the local trees and turn it into a moment of a tree house. It works out really, really well for not only for adult but for a lot of kids. They had a lot of fun in this park to kind of climb up and down the tree house. And then I want to bring kind of a really interesting aspect into it. We love building greenhouse as you've seen in the last proposal, right? So we actually, we do it again in China in this specific project. But in this case, the building and the structure are all existing. We did not design the structure, right? All the things that you saw were actually given to us from the prior owner, right? So what we did with this structure was that we turned it into a indoor classroom with a lot of plants inside. And if you can actually kind of see, like you can kind of imagine this greenhouse is again could get pretty hot in this climate of China. And what we have is like this was actually during earlier construction. What we had is that we had a lot of like kind of like sensors to kind of pick up the heat and the sunlight from the building. And what it allow us to do is that we again using different sensor and technology, we were able to control the interior temperature and the humidity of the building. We also have AC all kind of hidden below ground with some of the AC coming out. It was a pretty interesting and successful. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting and successful way to be able to turn farming into a classroom plus a greenhouse technology, so that children and then all the teachers who will be teaching inside will be able to enjoy a very breezy area without feeling too hot or too humid. All the photos that actually came out of the classroom actually works out really, really well. They just looks really lovely for a future of a classroom, right? I think having a class in one of this classroom will make kids probably more enjoy going to school a lot more. One project I wanted to share within this architectural smart building idea is another building in Shenzhen. We did not naturally do the overall design. We were more the architect for the interior aspect, but the interior for these two high rises are really, really big. The exterior building was actually done by a famous architect, Norman Foster from UK. We were more in charge of working with them on the interior aspect to work out some of the details of how we can actually make technology work for this building. The building owner is a very famous technology firm called DJI. They make a lot of artificial drone and all kind of drone that you can imagine. So immediately, some of the first thing they asked us to focus on with this technology is that they really wanted the idea for well-being, the idea for exhibition, the idea of collaboration, all kind of implemented within the building design. So within the lobby, we care a lot about collaboration and sustainability, right? So we have a lot of different way for people to meet and collaborate. And then obviously they love the metallic finishes because it just gives you a lot more easy way to clean the surfaces. And then on the inside, we have created a lot of part for people to actually isolate themselves for meeting. But at the same time, the use of the geometry kind of signify a different way of or inspired by the flying theme that they had from the company. Even within the toilet, we wanted to play with some of the display screens so that they make sure all the staff that they had are always connected to the world outside, even if they just are spending time in the toilet. And the exhibition area were all about kind of sharing the information their colleague had, so that it becomes a giant collaboration centers. And even they care about well-being for their staff, right? So they provide a really state-of-the-art facility, working out area for people to stay healthy and stay fit. And then very lastly, they have this conference room all the way to the top of the building. And then they really love this idea. What if we can still use the conference room empty, but during when the conference room is not occupied, they love the idea of being able to. This is not new technology. It's almost like a stage, it's a theater setting, right? Basically, all the theater will actually bring out all the trees and allocate them to a different location of the site. So when they actually don't need the conference room, when you look at the high-rise building from the outside, you almost have this really crazy animated sky garden. When they needed the animation of the conference room to be stopped, they can kind of pull back all the trees and then make it into a giant conference room. And on the smart building aspect, I wanted to also bring your attention to another project in the United States. Actually, no, I should say this is a project in Canada. We work with our United States partner on this one. It's a city that we designed it for 40,000 people. It's also designed it for a technology firm. So we call it the Abbotsford Tech District. One of the first things that we did with technology with that, in Canada, many people actually had the idea of what they wanted to do with city planning. But because this firm that we're working with, they're very global. So what we did is that rather than asking local Canadian what they wanted to see in the cities, we actually asked the whole world, if they were going to relocate themselves to Canada, what would they actually need in these new cities in order to be able to to do that. So we conducted a giant global surveys to actually let people see what are some of the criteria in the city planning that will actually make them move to a new city. And then the result is actually quite interesting. Many of them were very common, right? A lot of efficient transportation, a lot of destination to go to, a lot of walkable area. But the last two items was actually quite interesting. A lot of people actually wanted better food options, meaning having access to better food, healthier food, will actually make them consider to relocate, which is actually, I found that to be quite surprising as a survey. So out of this survey, we also work with the local counterpart to ask the local citizens what are some of the principles that they care about. They also give us another 11 design principles. So combining this 11 design principles plus the survey that we've done globally, we then come up with our own set of criteria to design this city plan. And then throughout the design process, we will go through some of this passive and active design. because we are housing a lot of people, water will be quite difficult to get us enough water. To get enough water on site will be quite difficult, not only for the people but also for the plant that we will have to sustain on site. So we come up with like a series of like a technology to reduce water consumption and also collect rainwater throughout the entire site. With that said, like it works out quite well if we were able to implement all this technology, and then at the same time the water become a really fantastic like features to cool down the building again. It's become another like microclimate that we could enjoy. It could become like a very fascinating like water show during some of the day. And gray water, right? What if some of the water that we use up, how could we actually reduce the consumption of it so that we don't actually overstretch the sewage system from the city? And then many of them has to deal with like the fixture that we pick. Many of them also separating dark water from gray water, right? The dark water is the one with like all of our sewage, but the gray water is the one that we wash our hand with. So by separating all this like system, we were able to recycle some of them to flush the toilet again, and that continue to reduce another 50% of water consumption. And so with that in mind, like we were able to actually just make up just enough of amount of water collection, water reduction, and then we were still able to sustain, as per our calculation, we were still able to sustain that many people like within the city. And some of the more passive like design strategy has to deal with like ventilation and then a lot of like green area to cool down the site. All the inner like again we love all this like kind of inner like pond area, inner like atrium. Everything is just like connected to like plants, fresh air and ventilation. It allows the smaller building or big building to breathe with the surrounding, and then simply also another way to cool down the building without using too much AC as well. And shared vehicle concept was actually quite important. You actually probably noticed we don't have any single parking lot or any single parking structure on site because we can't hide and hidden everything underground. But in order to reduce the amount of consumption we have on vehicle, we also will be implementing shared vehicle, shared car, and shared bicycle on site. Some of this like shared amenity help us to kind of like look forward to the future of a sharing economy. And the simple concept of walking and to also reduce like being able to walk from the apartment building to work, everything kind of within happening 8 minutes of walking distance is also quite crucial for us. So we make all this walking distance, the walking trail along the site to be very interesting, intimate, but at the same time very family friendly. All the greenery that we have on site, it just like kind of above and beyond the amount of like green ratio we have. It's over like over 60% of like green ratio that we implemented on site. And then housing option, we also allow like some of the different income group to be able to afford our site, and then all kind of like jobs programs that we implemented with the local government, so that they understand how many people will be working on site, and then and in order to meet specific need with their economic like indicator. And lastly, just when we were able to bring people together using food, going back to the survey that we did originally, we believe if we can use farming and food as a way to bring people together, people will just be very, very happy. And the local government just love this concept and this specific image a lot. And we are going ahead. This will be this whole city plan is actually a bit dramatic, meaning like it will probably cost us 20 years from now to implement all 36 buildings. But we are in the very first phase 1 right now to begin our experiment. And to the very last topic of today is on smart city. You have just seen some of the idea that we had from a small interior to a bigger like architectural building. And then I'm going to bring to your attention to the last project we have in China again, is how we actually use automation to improve sustainability in the city. The automation has to kind of like related to the planning aspect, the technology aspect, and also the infrastructure aspect. I'm going to go pretty quickly on this one because there's a lot of data. It could be pretty pretty intense, but I think the concept is easy to understand. The site is huge. You can kind of see the green area. It's about like 30 kilometers long. So it's a really, really huge like part of the cities that we are dealing with. It's basically 1/3 of the whole Shenzhen area. The site itself is just very, very long. It's in the middle of like a new airport designed by a lot of famous architects. You can kind of see a lot of famous building and famous like things are actually building up along the coastal line, and this will a lot of like a big technology giant from China like Tencent are all located within this area, and that was the reason why they got a lot of money to rebuild this entire time. But when we actually studied the site a bit more, we noticed something really interesting. If you see from the left, the first image was 1999, right? When the whole city was actually all agricultural area. And then back in 2000, about 20 years ago, the whole site starting to become very, very like gray, right? A lot of buildings kind of destroy all the farms that we used to have. And then back in 2015, the whole site pretty much become like a giant built infrastructure with almost like no trees or no greenery left. So we look at the site and we said that, no, this is no good, because like we can't just keep building like the way they had from 1990 to 2015. There must be a smarter way to actually build at the same time, keep up with the green ratio and to keep people healthy and to keep the cities healthy. So our proposal is a way to actually almost like bring back the city in time, right? But a little like in a metaphoric way. But what if like 2045 could look more like 1990 with the amount of green ratio we have, but still keeping the footprint and all the gross floor area that we had in 2015. So the idea could be actually very simple. It begins with like the central highway that we had, right? In 2015, they built so many highways, so many cars and trucks everywhere. And our idea is to limit the use of car and traffic, and then try to reconnect the neighborhood, because all this like 12-lane, 20-lane highway that they built literally divided the neighborhood into like multiple segments. And then there was no connection between the east and the west unless you cross over this like 20-lane highway. So the idea was very simple. We have to first connect the neighborhood so people could be able to enjoy like the area that was actually taken by car. We have to be able to give back the area to the people. And in order to do that, we also have a bunch of like sustainable strategy. We very related to how we actually share the facility, right? From sharing bicycle to a lot of like sharing economy concepts. And then we analyze the whole site and how we could actually be starting to tackle some of this more critical area for focus. And within the area of focus, like we think by breaking down the highway and implementing and connecting the neighborhood to the north and to the south, it will be a very significant way to bring back life into the city, so that it's not just all about the factory, the gray color building, the concrete building, but it's about how the nature, people, and city could reconnect to one another. And sharing economy is also one way to actually reduce the amount of like infrastructure we have to build. Because looking back at this plan, what we discover is that every single one of this like building owner, they own more than one factory, they own more than one building, and many of them were actually empty. So they just kind of build when they were in 1990s, right? And after the fact, when they don't need the building, many of them actually become just like abandoned or unused factory. So we believe that by being able to share some of this infrastructure that was already on site, they should be able to still not overbuild everything, but being able to reduce the amount of GFA we have on site. And also we also implemented all this like kind of sharing economy across this focus area. And from again, we love the idea of having a pond in the middle of a city to promote this microclimate idea. This existing reservoir was already existing but by actually implementing more park and community centers, bridges around it, we believe more people will be able to enjoy the waterfront and get to use the waterfront as a way to cool down the city. And we have this shared idea of like creating a smaller mobile park where people could be using the outdoor area to be discussing businesses with one another. Actually, this idea works out really well during COVID time because now it's everywhere in China that people are using this like park to discuss business during the in this post-COVID area. And drone and all this like latest technology was also part of this things that we discussed, having a light pole that actually become a drone charging station. Some of the community center that really displayed and gather people, and then the highway that we elevated, right, become almost like a signature piece that kind of rather than cutting through the building, but the neighborhood are actually connected below it, and the multimodal transportation will also be very influential to make this city work, right? We previously depend on our cars. China has been depending on a lot about like vehicle. The vehicle are not the buses, right? They're just like privately owned car. So in order to make change in the city, we have to kind of like think of a way to combine like a motorcycle, combine a bicycle, subway, and all kind of like a shared vehicle together in a specific area. So along this highway that we have, we will be creating like this like 15-minute zone. People will be able to like rent some of this bicycle or rent some of this vehicle, and then travel within the 15-minute distance along this entire part of like Shenzhen. And so in this section, you can kind of see like how multimodal transportation could actually kind of tie people together, and also tie like more than one type of like transportation together, so that they could just pick the type of technology that really works for them to get from work to home or from home to work. And then it just looked really, really fun to be able to kind of like walk around this like a multimodal like concept, and they become like a kind of part of a infrastructure that I think many China cities should possess. And from an area point of view, looking at it, this like central master plan really anchored the city in a very futuristic way, and we propose like kind of using also autonomous vehicles, so that the advantages of autonomous vehicle is that you're able to actually get a lot closer between car to car, so that without actually increasing the lane, because back then they have like 12 lane, right? So now we're reducing the amount of lane by using autonomous vehicle. When the car we're able to control by computer, and then they get a lot closer. Using the less lane, they can still pack the same amount of like vehicle within the same area. So that works out quite well by using a technology to really tackle like traffic pollution. And from inside the elevated highway, I think it will be also filled with like light and a lot of like really nice air and lighting effect. And so the central hub become like a community center. People could be renting their a bicycle, and in this case, we'll be flying with some of the drone to deliver it. Some of the we believe like in China, one of the biggest problems is that they have way too many truck. It's just way too many. Like when they go from one location to another location just to deliver very small item, they use a giant truck to deliver it. So what we discover is that, and this is not something new, right? It has been going on in the US, and it has been going on in some part of other country as well. They're using drone to deliver smaller items so that they could reduce the amount of trucks that they have in the cities. So in this case, we also will be implementing a very similar idea to connect like short distance. This is not meant for the long distance, but for very short distance delivery, we think the truck could be reduced significantly. And having like kind of like open factory that are toward the green sustainable economy, and less on the pollution side, but more onto the creative innovation side that focus on the circular economy. And believe the highway that we elevated, we think all kind of like business opportunity could be elevated. And at the end of the day, it's about this idea to connect like people again to water, to nature, to the cities. So so all this like water management will again be controlled by a big data system that they have in China. So water is a very difficult topic to tackle in China due to very intense like they make a lot of sometimes a lot of like water from the industry that they have in town. So the sewage system that they have in the city are actually overcrowded all the time. So in order to tackle like the growth of the city without actually overstress the local sewage system, we have to actually also, while we're working on this plan, we have to think of a way to manage the water using big data. How can we reduce water like among different buildings, and how can we actually like divert some of this water that were relatively clean to some of the artificial like basin, and only divert some of the not so clean water toward the sewage treatment plant. And then some of the water like gray water could easily be going into a regional wetland. So at the end of the day, like the idea is to if you look at the temperature of the city, right? At the moment, the temperature of the city is actually quite high. I mean, all the red are just kind of like indicating the city being very, very hot during a summer evening, mostly because the roof of the building are all kind of like made of concrete. There's not a lot of trees on site. But that is eventually, when we propose the right amount of trees, right amount of like water facility, and then reducing the amount of traffic that they put into the highway, we believe like by 2045 we could really drastically reduce the temperature on site. And you know, just coming very close to the end of the presentation, this is just a few more shots to really show you what some of this like diagram I've shown earlier, and the graphics of it. Yeah, so thank you. I talked really, really long. I just wanted to thank you and then bring your attention to one of the very last slide we have. So like I said at the very beginning, we own and operate an NGO to teach our children about architecture. And then the NGO that we have now have a new book coming up. It's called Adventures in Architecture for Kids. We have about 30 exercises. This is a book that is on sale, but all the money that we make from it will continue to go back to the NGO so that we can continue to use the money to help to teach more children about sustainable building and sustainable cities. So thank you. This is the end of my presentation.
Well, that was some fantastic points, Architect Vicky Chan. You spoke about farming to connect people, city, and nature. You spoke about technology for energy efficiency in buildings, and you also spoke about a use of building automation for sustainability within built spaces. So a lot of things that, yes, we definitely would like to talk to you about. We have with us Mr. Vivek Yadav now. He has some questions for you, Vivek. We spoke a lot of things, even the drones we were able to talk about, and the autonomous cars, and probably we will be now integrating them within our buildings and cities.
Very, very interesting. At the outset, Architect Vicky Chan, I would like to, say that that it's a very revolutionary presentation of ideas that I've just seen, and I'm really, really impressed, and so would be all the viewers who are watching your presentation. There are some obvious questions which come to mind when you see such revolutionary ideas that you find that how implementable are these. What challenges you face when you conceive all this in theory on your designs in your computer, and when you translate them on field into actual working environments, living environments, and working environments, be it offices or factories, or the entire smart city that you showcased. One is that you can tell us at what implementation stage are these, and second obvious question that I said was how practical it is to implement these design ideas, what challenges you face both in material, skill availability, and also how the authorities cooperate with you, how people cooperate with you who are living, who maybe when you redesign the existing spaces, they might be getting adjusted. So there are too many questions that I asked, but I think I have asked everything which came to my mind while I saw your presentation. So you can choose to answer whatever way you want.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for the great questions. I can answer it in like 3 different scale. I think when we do, like you see in the beginning with the smaller interior project, dealing with farming, we have never done indoor farm before without sunlight. So that was an experiment for us, and we built it. And then after we built it, we saw something that didn't work, right? So we can't fix it as we can't see how we fine tune the system so that it could actually work out. For a scale like that small for interior project, it works out okay because the budget can still absorb all the changes we do after the facts. And on a building scale, I think having a really good engineers really helps architects like us to make sure that all the math, all the air conditioner that we propose, all the mechanical aspect we propose could actually work within the budget. But on a building scale, what is actually quite interesting is that the interior project may take like 4 to 5 months to finish, right? So we're able to experiment with it a lot quicker. But on a building scale, sometimes like just take 2 years just to design it and then you build it. So by the time when the 2 years are done, sometimes like you see something new because the technology is so fast. By the time you're done designing, sometimes like we change the system a bit. For instance, some of the farm that we have saw are built with the greenhouse, right? 2 years ago, there was a air conditioner that we put in, but by the time we actually building it, there were a more sustainable air conditioner that we could end up using. So we actually end up changing the system a bit and change some of the design to fit it. So I think that kind of also happened with architecture. But on a city planning, like all the last project that I've seen, show you, I think sometimes we can't foresee everything. We had the grand vision, but the plan that we have shown you for the 2 Canadian project and the Chinese project, they are on a scale of like 20 years, right? 20 years from now, I can't for sure tell you that everything that we imagine would be happening. But I think as an architect, one of the things that are crucial is that we planned it ahead so that there are flexibility for us to change it as we go into 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. And some of them is about planning as well. If we plan ahead enough, for instance, autonomous vehicle, a lot of it has to deal with like GPS. A lot of it has to deal with like 5G technology. A lot of it has to deal with like sensors, right? So being able to plan a building that doesn't actually interfere with the sensors, interfere with the signal, I think that is something that we can do already today without knowing too much how it could actually work out in the cities. So I think to answer your question, the city scales is a bit about thinking ahead and knowing what we know. But I can tell you for sure that 20 years from now, everything that we have shown will be 100% implemented. But we think we should be designing a system flexible enough to adapt these changes.
Good. Thanks. So on the adaptability of people who get affected by redesign, be it residential area or city. I mean, is that also something that you face challenges and you manage the timelines and you're able to implement what you conceive?
Yeah, time is actually quite an interesting thing. Like India, China is such a fast economy. They give you very, very little time to come up with an innovative solution. But I don't know what it is. I'm sure the country of India are very used to it as well. I think sometimes when you do so fast, you do make mistake. I do make mistake as well. But because we work so fast, we see the mistake early, and then we are able to change it. Compared to some of the, I would say, Western country, they take a long time to think about the solution. But because they haven't implemented it, they waited a long time, and then by the time they actually see it, then the mistake was already too big. So I felt like there are advantages of being able to work in Asia, that especially in economy like India and China, people are just so enthusiastic to new idea that they don't mind some of the earlier mistake. They don't mind it, and I'm lucky that the client are also having this kind of like mindset.
Good. Thanks, Vicky. So over to you, Sapna, with your next question.
Sure, thanks, Vivek, sharing your thoughts and putting those very valid queries. We also have a lot of audience questions for Architect Vicky Jan. Architect Vicky, we have one question here where they say the role of architects and designers in creating a balance between technology, design, and sustainability. We have seen, you have mentioned those projects where you have worked with all these three ingredients:
Yeah.
technology, sustainability, and the design. So how the role of architects becomes very vital in this entire uh, equation.
Oh, uh, I, 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 I don't think we don't innovate, we don't come up with artificial intelligence technology, right? But we have to stay at the forefront of it by talking to a lot of like professional and expert. So my background is also like I am the head of the American Institute of Architects. So what we do is that every week we have like classes to learn from different experts, just like you, and you're conducting so many classes. For us, I think it's important to continue education so that we know from all this like top-end scientists, we know from their latest invention and what we should actually implement with it. I can't say that I am a scientist, but there's so many like avant-garde idea out there. So I think like going to classes like yours, going to lectures and things like that keep us informed. And then once we collect all this idea, we just talk to them. And we know them, and we ask them whether all this idea are crazy. And then there are so many crazy people out there that are willing to talk to us and to give us feedback. So that it works out well. I mean, you saw some of the global survey we had from the originally. We didn't know how people would react to us like globally, but when we send out the survey, so many people respond to us, and then we find the idea as we go.
Okay, fantastic. So in fact, you spoke about collaboration. We also have a question we're asking, because now architecture is not just about architecture. A lot of other things need to be, like I mentioned, drones and autonomous cars now becoming part of the architecture and city planning. So collaboration, and here also we are talking, Vivek, we are talking about collaboration between manufacturers, architects, and designers. So collaboration among various streams, various design streams, technology streams, manufacturers. How do we build that?
I think collaboration sometimes is about we as an architect has a better sense of like the overall scale, the overall like discipline and how things should come together. The technology people, in my opinion, sometimes they are very focused on specific field, and they may not have like the overall good picture of how things could be put together. So as an architect, as a planner, I think we have to be able to collect some of the opinion that everyone could be giving us. And at the end of the day, like I think our job is to be able to elevate this idea into a higher level and then show it to them again. Once they actually see the plan, once they see the graphics, they will be able to react to it, and then they will tell us what it could be changed and updated. So that that's how we have been dealing with collaboration. It would be very, very difficult to ask like a drone expert to draw us a plan, because that's not what they do, right? They focus on drone. So sometimes we just kind of show them the plan, how it could let the city work around a drone, and then they will give us a specific guideline on how to do it. And so far, like this type of collaboration works out quite well. It takes time at the end of the day, but we enjoy the process.
Okay, great. So as long as one enjoys the process, I think we are all on the right track. One last question, because we are already running out of time, is what is your dream project?
My dream project is to be able to use more farming across the cities to if we can actually turn farming and integrate all the high rises, all the mid-rise building with farming. I think that would be my dream project. We have been showing a lot of it, but I don't think we do it big enough. My dream project is to be able to actually do it even bigger, so that like we can literally make enough food in the cities to sustain the whole city. That would be really cool.
Okay, fantastic. That's a really great thought. Thank you, Vicky Chan, once again for that most informative and interesting talk and answering the audience questions. And I'm sure our viewers had some very valuable and very groundbreaking takeaways from today's session. Thanks, Vivek Yadav, also for putting up those questions. Having a conversation with our speaker. Let me now bring in Mr. Remel Behel, who's the enterprise business head for enterprise business at Havells India, and he would like to express gratitude on behalf of Havells India and on behalf of Realty Plus for our speaker today. Let me give a brief introduction for Mr. Behel. He's the head for enterprise business, responsible for working with architects, consultants, interior designers, industry, government, infrastructure, and key commercial projects. He's an electrical engineer with 26 years of experience working with large MNCs and has expertise in enterprise solutions, business development, strategic planning, and sales. Remel, great to have you here. And you had been listening to that entire presentation and conversation. So what are your takeaways from today's session?
Yeah, thank you, Sapna. Good afternoon, all. I think it was really a eye-opening presentation. Firstly, on behalf of Havells, it's an honor and privilege for me to propose a vote of thanks to our honored guest, Vicky Chan from Avoid Obvious Architects. And let me start off by saying that, your emphasis on the smart building and smart cities and creation of green technology is very, very relevant in today's scenario. See, your waterfront project, the farm project in Hong Kong, I think, and your thought, on how to connect people with nature while utilizing technology, is very, very relevant today. I think each one of your projects has been a unique experience, and your smart city project at Bawan is very, very impressive and path-breaking. We at Havells are also committed to providing energy efficient electrical products and solutions for similar world-class projects which push the boundaries of architecture and technology. And we also believe in a close working collaboration with our clients, partners, and stakeholders to achieve a successful and sustainable outcome. So, I mean, all the topics which were covered were very futuristic, very relevant. And I would like to thank all the honorable participants who have taken time out for participating in this edX series. And I would also like to thank the organizing team. It was really a great presentation. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Behel. Thanks, Mr. Behel, for expressing a sincere thanks on behalf of Realty Plus and Havells India to our speaker of the day. Thanks, Mr. Vivek Yadav, as well for being part of this session and sharing your views. Most of all, as Mr. Remel Behel has also mentioned, to our awesome audience for being here, sharing their time and sending in their questions. I once again thank our speaker of the day, architect Vicky Chan, for sharing his knowledge and with the design fraternity of India, and so thank you very much, but do keep watching this space. Once again, we will be bringing you yet another acclaimed design expert soon on 29th April. So till then, take care and goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.